ॐ जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। We begin today's Gospel of Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi's class. The date of the conversation is 16th January 1912. The morning of this particular day, Swami Arupananda was with Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi in her room in Udbodham. I said to her, now Swami Arupananda, Raj Bihari Maharaj, is recording these conversations. He said to Holy Mother, Mother, Sri Chaitanya one day blessed Narayani, saying, may you have devotion to Krishna. The words had such a magic effect that the girl, who was just hardly 3 or 4 years old, rolled on the ground uttering Krishna, Krishna, Krishna in ecstasy. We have read a story about Narada. He is telling another story. After he had realized God, one day he felt compassion for an ant. A small ant was going in front of him, and Narada somehow suddenly felt some deep compassion for this little ant. And he thought to himself that this small ant, this is a story narrated by Swami Arupananda to Holy Mother. He's saying, Narada saw a small ant and he thought, you see, this ant has to evolve into different creatures, different animals. It is just a small ant. Then it will slowly evolve to become big animals. Then it will slowly become a human being. And after getting birth after being born as a human being, still it has to be born so many times and work out the karma and then finally be free. So Narada felt a deep compassion and thought, how many lives this we are already human beings and we have to do so much sadhana to realize, to get mukti. So what about this small ant? First of all, it has to give up its body several times to become a human being, which is so rare. And after being born as a human being, as Gita says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye. Gita says that out of thousands and thousands of people who have already been lucky to get a human birth, they find it so difficult to even get the thought to be free from the bondage of this world. This Maya is so powerful that it does not even allow a man who has been, a person who has been born as a human being, such a rare thing. He could have been born as an animal, but slowly has evolved and has become a human being. But out of those human beings, out of millions of human beings, only 1 or 2 people, few people get a desire to be liberated. And out of those people who somehow managed by the grace of the Guru or by some chance, they come across holy people, get the support of a guru who helps them, shows them the way to liberation. So Kaschid Yatate Siddhe means out of millions, few get a chance. But out of those who get a chance also, only a few manage to reach the goal. If the grace of the Guru is there and somehow he or she manages to be free, that's a great achievement. So this shows that uh, since it is so difficult, even after being born as a human being, to get the grace of God, to aspire for liberation, and after having aspired for liberation, to really get liberation. So this is so rare. So Narada thought, now this small ant is struggling to live. It's a small biological creature. How many lives it has to undergo to become a highly evolved animal, and that highly evolved animal, as a result of good karma, has to become a human being, and then no doubt it is such a big struggle for an ant. So the moment he thought, tenderly he blessed that ant. Somehow, you see, here Holy Mother seems to be telling that if there is compassion, even these ants can be saved. So this ant was blessed by Narada. He felt a strange kind of compassion. And the ant did not have to wait for so many births. Immediately, he says, the ant assumed such non-human forms as birds, beasts, and so forth, and gradually took the body of a man. Now, Narada saw before his own eyes how quickly the transformation took place. Narada is the universal guru. He is the one who connects you to the Supreme Being. So, because of his grace, the Supreme Being somehow graced that ant, and that ant assumed several different forms. Finally, it became a human being, and then gradually took the body of a man. It passed through many human births and enjoyed the experiences associated with them, and step by step directed its attention to spiritual disciplines. The ant worshipped God and attained salvation. Narada saw all this happening in a twinkling of the eye. In the twinkling of an eye, all these events happened. Innumerable births he could see. That is because of the grace of God. So there is no limit to God's grace. What the disciple seems to be asking Holy Mother is that how come this unique phenomena takes place sometimes? Even a small child, as in the previous case, Chaitanya simply blessed that child, and the child immediately started repeating the name of Krishna with so much fervor, devotional fervor. So it started immediately spiritual practices, even at this tender age of 3 or 4. So also he says there is a story where Narada also has given mukti to an ant. He uttered the name of the Lord and just had compassion and touched that ant, and the ant passed through several animal births, human births, and finally got realization. So therefore, one may get liberation instantaneously through the grace of a great soul. So is there such a possibility? Now these are stories which Ras Bihari Maharaj has heard. So he wanted to confirm firsthand from Holy Mother whether such things happen, really happen. Can God's grace achieve so much, or can the Guru's grace achieve so much for a human being? So Mother says that is absolutely true. It is true. It can happen. So what are the conditions now? The disciple asks, but I have also heard that one cannot keep one's body long if one accepts the burden of the sins of others. The body that might have been instrumental in granting salvation for many is withered away for the sake of one sinful person. So he says, through grace, Narada may have helped the ant to get mukti. But then there is also another saying, or maybe there's another thought in our scriptures which says that the Guru or the person who does this, showers the grace on the disciple, has to take the burden of the sins, the physical sins of the disciple. So naturally he says, if so much of grace is showered upon one single soul who perhaps may not deserve it, then that person who's showering his grace on the guru who does that, may have to suffer a lot of physical ailments. And as a result, he may deprive mukti to many other people. Instead of focusing on one, should it not be, is it not good that he does not, he refrains from bestowing his grace upon such sinful people? Because that is going to affect him physically. So, Holy Mother says, yes, that is also true. So, she is saying that it is also true that saints like Narada could liberate even these ants, but it is also true that giving mukti to one or two difficult people, people who have committed a lot of sins, also may be detrimental, because that guru or that person who does it may not be able to save many people because of this one person. So she says, further, a great soul thus loses his power. The power of austerities and spiritual disciplines that might have been utilized for the liberation of many souls is spent for the sake of one person. The master used to say, I have all these physical ailments. The master means Sri Ramakrishna used to often say, I have all these physical ailments now because I took upon myself the sins of Girish. But Holy Mother says, but now you see, even Girish is suffering. He was suffering physically, but at the same time he got mukti. Then the disciple asks another question, or rather narrates a dream which he had, because for him Holy Mother was his guru. So he used to be worried that Holy Mother is blessing so many people. She is blessing many people who come people who are not really, who do not deserve the grace. They come and take initiation and they make Mother suffer. So he was a bit worried. Perhaps that was uppermost in his mind. So he gets a dream one day, a very vivid dream, which he is now narrating to Holy Mother, because he is a bit conscious of the fact that these thousands and thousands of people who are approaching Mother for her grace, and Mother, without any distinction, without even bothering to see anything, she is simply showering her grace by giving initiation to all these people. So what will happen to her? That was the worry. What will happen to the physical body of the Holy Mother? So, because Mother said it is true, and she gave the example of Sri Ramakrishna also. So the disciple got worried and he said, I had a dream in which, Mother, one day I had a dream. I saw that a man with shaggy hair, unkempt hair, he came to you. All these things happened in a dream, not in a waking state. So the disciple had this particular dream. So he's asking Mother the significance of this dream. So he says, Mother, one day I had a dream. I saw that a man with shaggy hair came to you and insisted that you must do something for him at once. So he came and said, you have to do something for me. You have to shower your grace upon me. Whether he was deserving or not, he was adamant and went on requesting Holy Mother, please do something for me. You have to do something for me. He had previously, of course, he had not come for initiation. He was previously initiated by Holy Mother. So he had just come because he was helpless and he wanted Mother to help him. So he says he had previously been initiated by you, but he himself would not practice any spiritual discipline. You said, if I do something for him, all these things the disciple is seeing in a dream. Holy Mother has not said this, but he felt that Holy Mother is telling him or telling others that if I do something for him, then I shall not live. My body will fall off immediately. He had so much of sins, he had committed so many sins, that the disciple felt that the Holy Mother is pointing out that if I initiate this person, then I will not live. With all earnestness I could command, I forbade you to show any kindness to this man and said, why should you do anything for him? He will achieve his own salvation. Let him practice sadhana and work out his own karma. As he insisted again and again. Now this was all happening in the dream. The disciple is thinking that some disciple who was not serious about his sadhana has come and again is requesting or pestering Holy Mother, asking her to bestow her grace while he himself would not do any sadhana. So the disciple was worried in the dream, of course. The disciple told Holy Mother, please don't initiate him. Please don't shower your grace upon him. She had already initiated him. But please don't do everything for him because he is not doing anything and it will affect your health. Or you may not, as you saw that Holy Mother is saying, if I do something for him, he will not live. Then, as he insisted again and again, you became disgusted with him, did something to him by touching his chest and neck, and said repeatedly, if I do something for him, then I shall not live. My body will fall off immediately. Then my dream disappeared. Well, is it true that one's power becomes limited when one is born in a physical body? So he's asking Holy Mother, is it true? Is my dream true? Does it always happen like that? Because he was not sure. After all, it was a dream. And in the dream, he sees that Holy Mother says, no, I can't do anything for you. You have to do yourself. But that person was going on harassing her and asking her, you have initiated me, now do something for me. So Holy Mother says, Varasbihari Maharaj asks, well, is it true that the power becomes limited if one is born in a physical body? Could you do more for that person if you were not in the physical body? When you have left the physical body, as Swami Vivekananda once said, that I may like to throw away this physical body like a disused garment, but I shall not stop. I shall continue to inspire men till they know that they are one with God. So that was the power of Swami Vivekananda, who said, whether the body remains or not, I am going to fight and work hard to give liberation to all these disciples or all the people, till every person. I mean, that was the resolution that Swami Vivekananda himself took, because they were great people, they were prophets with great spiritual power. So here the disciple is asking that if you are born in a physical body, have you been born with certain limitations? Will you have to incur the sins? Because you have got this physical body, the gross body, will the sons of these people whom you are initiating, will they come to you? Then Mother says, yes, that is so. Many a time, disgusted with the repeated requests of some persons, I think, well, this body will die someday, any day, anyone, anyway, this body is going to die. You see the nobility of Holy Mother. So she says, anyway, this body is going to die. So, well, this body is going to die. Let it fall now or let it fall any moment. Let me give him salvation. So that shows the large-hearted nature of Holy Mother. She was so large-hearted, she was so compassionate that she said, even if it causes physical ailments to me, even if it causes trouble, because this person is again and again insisting on me giving his grace to him, let me do anyway. The idea is that anyway, since the body is temporary, I am not going to eternally live in this physical body. So at least let me use it for a good purpose. Now this is exactly the attitude one should have when one is dealing with the worldly things. But nobody thinks that all the things, all the wealth, all the riches, everything that we are gathering, anyway it is not going to remain. But still, we think that we are going to enjoy this, we will be living eternally. We don't even think that all these things it's not possible. The huge amount of bank deposits, all the wealth which we have created. Even if I want, the old person does not even know that even if he decides to spend every penny of his in the remaining years of his life, he is not going to be able to spend it. First of all, he will not spend it. He will be miserly, would like to save more and more for what we do not know. But even after doing that, there is no guarantee that he'll be able to spend what he has earned. This is true in the case of a gross body, in the gross world. In a worldly sense also, we do not get the idea of the temporary nature of our body and our possessions. And knowing fully well that our body is not eternal and the possessions themselves are not eternal, it may belong to me now, but it is of no use. None of those things will go with me. But still, when one is in the physical body, he is not able to leave these things. So there is no wonder that when Holy Mother says that I have taken this physical body, she did not have to take. She took it just to help people. All these great prophets, they take the human body just to help people. So they know that this body anyway is not going to last. So if the body is not going to last, to enjoy the worldly property or the worldly wealth which one has accumulated, then how can you expect it to last eternally for the spiritual wealth which one has accumulated? It can be distributed even without the body. That is the idea. The difference between spiritual wealth and the wealth which we accumulate in the world, there is a huge difference. Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, we discussed that in the 6th chapter, and also in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Sri Krishna is telling, don't worry, because Arjuna asked this question. He says, if I fail in my attempt to attain spiritual knowledge, after doing all the sadhana, if I don't attain spiritual knowledge, then what will happen to me? Will everything that I have attained be wasted? Will everything that I have accumulated, just as all the wealth that I accumulate, anybody accumulates all the wealth, upon his death, either it goes to somebody who doesn't deserve it, or perhaps the government takes it. Some undeserving person takes it. So is that what is going to happen to me? Is that what is going to happen to my spiritual wealth? So Sri Krishna gives a beautiful answer, says there is a huge difference. Whatever spiritual wealth you accumulate, that is going to go with you. So Holy Mother here says that whether I live in this body or not, the spiritual wealth, the blessings, the grace that I have to shower upon human beings, upon people who have come to me, that will go on unending without any end, whether the body remains or not. So why should I be so much attached to this body? If it falls sick, that is what motivated Sri Ramakrishna to take all the sins of Girish Ghosh. He knew that a time has come when I have to anyway give up the body. So why not give it for a person who really deserves it? Whether he deserves it or not, to a person who has surrendered to me. So Sri Ramakrishna gave, perhaps lost his, but then he continued to live, because as Gita says, everybody, the spiritual wealth that you accumulate can never be lost. Nahi kalyanakrit kaschit durgatim tata gacchati. Arjuna is telling, never does a doer of spiritual practices ever come to grief. Now this will be confirmed by Holy Mother at the end of this conversation. She is assuring this Ras Bihari Maharaj, said, don't worry about my giving my grace or my showering my grace to deserving or undeserving people. It doesn't matter, because I am doing my duty. I am doing my duty whether the body lives or not. Even in the worldly sense, the body lives or not, everything that we earn is going to go waste. But here I am not afraid, Holy Mother seems to be saying. that if I give somebody salvation, the body might go, but I don't need the body. I can even continue my spiritual ministration. That is the difference between the worldly gains and the spiritual wealth which we gain. We may gain worldly things, but they don't go with us. Whereas the spiritual wealth that we accumulate, that these prophets accumulate, the gurus accumulate, the different saints, the different holy people, very judiciously they keep on accumulating. Any person, whether he is a householder or a monk or a guru or a ordinary person, the spiritual wealth, the spiritual sadhana he does is not going to go waste. Either it will be taken over to the next birth and he will continue from where he left, or if he is a great soul, he will continue to bless, he will continue to shower his grace, either among his disciples or among all the people whom he has given shelter. So the ministration of these holy people, of these great saints like Holy Mother, is continuing even now. She has that tremendous capacity. So that's what Ras Bihari Maharaj wanted to know, because he was afraid that by some chance now this mother, his guru, is going on giving initiation to anybody who comes. And she herself said that I have to take the sins of others. So if she continues to do that, then what will happen to us? All the people, she might give up the body anytime. So mother says, don't worry, that it is true. He says, well, the body will die, let it fall at this moment, let me give him salvation. So that is the attitude Holy Mother says. Now the disciple asks, what exactly do you give to your disciple? Because it's not as tangible. Normally people go to all the spiritual gurus and other, they even pray to God to help them in their worldly pursuits. So what exactly do you get when you approach spiritual people or approach your guru? Now she says, Mother, does the vision of God mean attainment of knowledge, jnana, or spiritual consciousness, chaitanya, or does it signify anything else? Now he is asking, what does this spiritual wealth mean? What exactly do you give? Do you give knowledge, the supreme knowledge which will remove the sorrows forever? Or do you give him chaitanya, the idea of consciousness, eternal consciousness, that immortality, which never dies, which never becomes less, which does not, which cannot be taken away from you even after death? That spiritual consciousness do you give? Or do you just give them some toys and some wealth which anyway will not serve the purpose? What exactly do you give? What exactly happens when you get a vision of God? And because he wants to know, suppose I get a vision of God tomorrow, what will happen to me? So there is a very wonderful answer now which Holy Mother gives. What happens? Mother, what else can it mean except attainment of these? Except giving eternal consciousness or knowledge, spiritual knowledge. What else will happen if you have the vision of God? Vision of God doesn't mean vision of God with form. It can come in any form. It can come as light. It can come as experience of consciousness. It can come as experience of tremendous faith in the presence of God, feeling the presence of God every moment of your life. By the grace of the Guru, you can even feel the presence of anybody, of the spiritual people, eternally being at your side and coming to protect you whenever you want. Protect means protect your spiritual wealth. That is what the gurus do. So she said, does anybody mean to say that the man of realization will grow two horns? I mean, she is just joking. She says, what else will happen? He will not become a superman and grow two horns, or he become something different than what he is now. He will remain the same human being, but he will have knowledge, and he will. Vision of God means he will have knowledge, to be full of faith, to be secure, to be full of peace and joy, and a joy which comes only as a result of this infinite consciousness, identification with the infinite, undying consciousness. There is no fear of death, because death is only a phenomena which takes place with the Annamaya kosha. He is not identifying with the lower koshas. He is identifying himself with the consciousness which is his Ishta. And once he tags himself to that, once he becomes one with that, or at least is connected to that, he gets a great sense of security, great sense of peace, a great sense of eternal joy. So that is the reward, or that is the wealth. That is what spirituality does. That's what Holy Mother says. He doesn't grow two horns, or something supernatural doesn't happen to that person. He remains the same human being with the way he was born. He has been born, certain natural laws he will follow, he will grow, and he will die one day. Nothing spectacular will happen like growing two horns. Then the disciple says, many of your devotees explain the vision of God differently. They believe that one sees God with physical eyes and talks to him. So the question now this disciple asks is, what type of realization I will get? Will I see God with form? Can I talk to him as I talk to human beings? Or will I have a vision of light? Or will I see the light of consciousness? Will I see the physical light? Or what would you mean by this knowledge? What do you mean by consciousness? He wants to know. Or will I see God in a different way, in a physical form, and talk to him? Mother answers, yes. When some people say, please show us the Father, please show us the Mother, who is God. If they consider God as Mother or Father, they might see him in that shape. But he or Sri Ramakrishna is nobody's father. The three words Guru, Master, Karta and Father, Baba, pricked him like thorns. In this incarnation, Sri Ramakrishna came to awaken the Chaitanya in you. He didn't come to give you mere visions and be satisfied with that. That's why Swami Vivekananda said, if you have a vision of some Ishta or something, and then there is no transformation in you, there is no joy in you, no peace in you, then you might have as well seen a monkey. You might have as well seen a monkey, vision of a monkey. It will have no effect on you. There won't be any transformation. So just don't bother about the physical vision or physical experiences, which really count for nothing. That's why Sri Ramakrishna did not insist that you should see him as a father or a mother. You may pray to him. That may be the means to attain realization. But the realization that he is going to give you is pure consciousness or pure knowledge. The idea of attaining this pure consciousness, which gives you freedom from all the trouble which affects the five koshas, in which we are imprisoned. We are imprisoned in these koshas. So once you get the vision of consciousness, then this prison no longer makes you suffer, makes you suffocate. It doesn't happen. And if you expect God to come in a physical form, and even if he comes and gives you a vision, what is the use? Because unless there is a deep transformation, if that vision results in a transformation and it gives you consciousness, then Holy Mother says it is of some use to you. Then it is of great use to you. So she says, how many sages practiced austerity for ages and ages? Still they could not realize God. And now people will not practice spiritual disciplines or undergo in any austerities. In this yuga, you don't have to do a lot of tapasya. God realization has been made easy. But still people don't do it, whatever little they are expected to do. He says, and now people will not practice spiritual disciplines and undergo austerities, but still they will insist that they should be shown God immediately. I can't do it. Can you tell me if Sri Ramakrishna had shown God to anyone? Nobody came to Sri Ramakrishna and said that you show me God in this particular form, and he immediately showed. He said, no, what will you do? Because he knew it is like asking for some toys. Okay, I give you a vision, but what's that? In fact, once or twice he did it, and the people who saw that vision were not prepared for it. Because they had so much desires, they had so much desire for wealth and so many things. They said, we don't want this realization because it's not helping us to earn money and do the things we like. They came because they were not prepared. They just had a vision of the form of their Ishta. But what of it if they were not prepared? Even Swami Vivekananda, who first when he was forcing Thakur almost to have the vision, such a great person, such a great sadhaka, a born yogi, he himself says, I have a family at home. What are you doing to me? When he saw the light. So Sri Ramakrishna knew that unless one is ready for this knowledge, for this illumination, for this mukti, unless one is thoroughly convinced because of the grace of the Guru and the Ishta that this world is not real and I'm just wasting my time, not until then God will give you the grace. That's what Mother is saying. Can you tell me if Sri Ramakrishna had shown God to anyone? Is anyone who just came and casually said, no, I want to see God? He would simply laugh. He said, no, it will happen in time. He will not disappoint him. He said, no, it will happen. It will take time. Because he knew it, what's the use of just showing? Maybe Sri Ramakrishna could have shown him the vision of God. But that would not have done anything to him. Or his desires would have remained. He would have remained the same person. So he says, disciple says, well, mother, we hear that some seek but do not get, while others do not seek but get. What does this mean? Now, this is a very important question, which, if you see Sri Ramakrishna's life, he bestowed his grace on some people. It looks as if he was partial to some people, but that is not so. Holy Mother says, unless you deserve, nobody is going to give you. Don't think anything is got just because if you really don't deserve it, you'll never get it. Only if you may not know, you may not have done anything significant in this life to deserve the grace of God. But don't try to judge him. Why is he giving to this person and why is he not giving grace to another person? Why does it so happen? Simply because, for the simple reason, some people deserve more, grace more, some people don't deserve because of their karma. And we don't know with what backlog of karma we have come. So we have to hope for the best and think we are the chosen ones. That's our only hope. If we are the chosen ones, then God will make our journey very easy. We should not lose patience. We should not lose faith. If Mother says, if Holy Mother says, and she has inspired so many people, so many disciples, some of them apparently worthless, some of them apparently very good, but she showed no distinction. And perhaps this Ras Bihari Maharaj was feeling bad, that why does Mother help those bad people or people who are not deserving? They just come and pester her and she gives the grace. So Mother is trying to tell him, don't think people who come here don't deserve it. Only when they deserve it, they will come to the right place and get the right person and get the grace. So she says, he asks, well, Mother, we hear that some seek but do not get, while others do not seek but get. What does this mean? Then Mother says, she gives a very simple answer, but it's very deep. It's not as simple as we think it is. She says, God has the nature of a child. Some beg, but he does not give them, while others do not want, but he asks them to accept. Perhaps the latter had many meritorious acts to their credit in their past births. Therefore, God's grace descends on them. So, she gives a apparently very simple answer. She says, have you not seen children? Sometimes the parents or the mother or the father or some relative, elderly relative will ask the child, please give me, just to test the child. So even if his own mother asks, he may not give it. He says, no, I'm not going to give you. He is absolutely adamant. But sometimes when he is in a different mood, he will say, okay, you asked, you take. So the child does not discriminate. It appears, outwardly it appears, that the child is so childish that it depends on his sweet will. So also Holy Mother says, God is like that child. But at the same time, she adds, but that doesn't mean that he is unjust, that he will help somebody who without any sadhana, and somebody who does sadhana, they don't get it. It happens only because of, that's why Holy Mother says, perhaps he has gained a lot of merit in his previous births. So that is the reason why when we come to spirituality, we should neither judge ourselves nor judge others. That's why Jesus said, very clearly he said, judge not that ye be not judged. If we really want to go on the spiritual path, we have to remember this important thing. Please don't judge others. And please don't judge yourself also. Because very often God's grace comes unawares. We think we have done nothing in this life which deserves where we deserve this grace. And we think, oh no, we have no hopes. We have led such a useless life. We have done nothing. Even now we do nothing. And how can we expect God? So let us give up spirituality. Many people lose hopes and lose faith. But Mother says, don't lose hope. Because you never know with what kind of baggage you have come to this and taken this birth to deserve this grace. Who knows? Without doing anything, you may get Mother's grace. We have to just, as Mahapurush Maharaj used to say, that I feel myself as that dog. He showed one dog. He had a few dogs were there in Belur Math, and those dogs were so loyal. In fact, Swamiji's dog never left Swamiji. Even after his passing away, that dog came again and again, and it came and started waiting outside his door. Even though Swamiji had entered Mahasamadhi, he was no more. But the dog was so loyal that it came back. Bhaga was his name. And then all the other Swamis thought that this dog is not eating anything, doing anything, always lying at the door of Swamiji, even though Swamiji is not here. So they thought perhaps if we take him and help him cross the Ganga, take him by boat and put him somewhere else, he will become normal, he will start eating. So this dog, just a simple dog, he was not even, you see how much loyalty or how much faith even these dogs have. So he was taken on the other side of the Ganga, and they kept him in somebody's place and said, you please look after him. See, if he comes to Belur Math, he will be reminded of Swamiji and he will not eat, and he might die if he doesn't eat. He has been just waiting for Swamiji to come out, but he's not going to come. So they kept, but then they found within 1 or 2 days that dog somehow managed to escape and jumped into a boat and exactly landed and came back to Belur Math, and again was seen outside Swamiji's room. And in fact, that dog died. And then they buried this dog just near Swamiji's place of Mahasamadhi, where a beautiful temple has been built. There is a small bale tree, and there is a small writing there, a small tablet which says Swami Vivekananda's dog Bhaga was buried here. He was so loyal. So one has to have that faith. We do not know. We perhaps think that it was just a dog. But who knows what was his past karma? What made him so much attached to Swamiji? So Holy Mother says, you don't know that God is like a child. He may appear to give something to somebody, and the person who gets it may think, I didn't deserve this, but the child has given it away to me. He thinks that is his luck. But no, nothing is nobody gets anything if he doesn't really deserve it, he or she. So then the disciple asks, if God is like the child, then he is discriminative. He is partial. Somebody has worked very hard and he rewards somebody else. So he asks, then there is discrimination even in the grace of God. So even in the grace of God, he is partial to some people and he is not so kind to other people. Why does God behave like this child? So mother says, yes, that's true. That's true means she says that's, yeah, that is what it appears. But everything depends on karma, one's past actions. See, at the same time, she says it is true. It is true in the sense that is what you see. That is a fact which we see in front of our eyes daily. Why some people get more grace, some people don't grace, and we always grumble. But do we ever think that really do we deserve this grace? That is why we should not judge. It is the most harmful thing in spiritual life to judge oneself and to judge others. These two things one should not do. That is why Jesus' wonderful comment is, beautiful comment, not beautiful quote, judge not that ye be not judged. He's telling his disciples, don't judge. If you start judging people, if you start judging yourself, then you will be judged by the same standard. If you think, oh, this person doesn't deserve, and the Guru has given him grace or her given her grace, and I deserve more, then I will be judged by those same standards. There will be somebody who has done more sadhana or who has done less sadhana, and he may get and I may not get. So we will be judged by the same standard. So it is better not to judge, leave everything to God, surrender to Him, because He knows who deserves what. Even we do not know. If we had known that, we would have become gods ourselves. So we have to have this basic faith in the Guru given mantra and also God, our Ishta, who helps us, who sees that God's grace, if we really deserve it, someday or the other we will get it. And we should never lose hope and not judge ourselves, not judge others, and let God judge us. Leave everything to God. We have to surrender. That's what Holy Mother says. The moment one's karma comes to an end, he realizes God. That is one's last birth. So if your karma is almost over, then no matter what you have done in this life, you will come to the right person and you will be liberated, because that was destined for you. So you don't have any right to judge what I have done or what I have not done, because you can't calculate your karma by measuring what you have done in this life. We have had so many lives before this. As human beings, as animals, we do not know. Nobody knows, in fact. Only a incarnation. That's why Arjuna is told by Sri Krishna, you and me both have had innumerable births. We have come so many times. God has come so many times as incarnation, has incarnated as Avatara. So also the Jiva is incarnated. But Arjuna is told by Krishna. Krishna tells, I know every birth of mine, whereas you don't know. He knows. That's why he knows who has what. He is the karma dhyaksha, one who decides, gives the fruits of our karma to each one of us. God is known as, when He incarnates, He is the karma dhyaksha. So we have no right to question why some people get grace, why some people do not. We have to find out. Perhaps I don't deserve, but let us make our karma such that we deserve more and more. Our duty is only to make ourselves fit to deserve more grace from God and not judge Him nor judge ourselves. Both things you should not. No, don't judge others, don't judge yourself. Do not judge. Jesus says, judge not that ye be not judged. If you don't judge others, if you leave everything and allow the law of karma to act, then you will find that the grace will come to you. That is very difficult to understand. We keep judging. Every moment of our life, we think some injustice is going on. But we never think that there is no misery or no good or no joy which is undeserved. If you get joy, don't think you don't deserve it. Even if you don't, it appears that you don't deserve it, you will get it. And if there is some misery, even if you think you did not deserve it, you have to undergo it. You have to patiently wait and allow the law of karma to work. That's what Mother says. Then disciple says, I admit that the cessations of actions, karma kshaya, spiritual disciplines and time are the factors in attainment of spiritual knowledge and consciousness. But if God be our own, very own, then can he not reveal himself to his devotees by mere will? He says, I know that. Rasbihari Maharaj is saying, I know very well that time and karma kshaya means working out our karma. I mentioned about titiksha yesterday, sahanam sarva dukkhanam apratikara purvakam. I put it on WhatsApp. There, Shankaracharya defines that sahanam sarva dukkhanam. Why should I bear? Why should I bear? It is foolish. Why not fight it out and then settle things for once for all? He is asking you to bear because sahanam sarva dukkhanam, the apparent misery, the short-term misery which we have, is perhaps removing the karma. A lot of karma has been washed out, or kshaya takes place. A lot of karma kshaya takes place. Kshaya means wearing out. So a lot of karma is wearing out very fast due to these miseries, small miseries, which we can endure. If we can endure them, we have to endure them. We have to take precautions, but at the same time, if they come in spite of all our precautions, then you have to simply endure them, as Bhagavad Sri Krishna tells us in the Gita and Vivek Chudamani. Chinta vilapa, and not be anxious. It's not that you don't have to find remedies for that. If troubles and pains come, you have to seek a remedy, but not be anxious about it. It will come and it will go. If it wants, it will go. Sooner or later, it's going to go. So you have to, but what happens, what we gain by bearing it patiently and having patience in the will of God or the law of karma, that it will wear out our karma very quickly. So that's the reason why we should not judge ourselves and judge others. Then he says, if God is our own, the disciple still wants to escape from this karma theory. He says, if somehow we feel that God is our own, then will he not remove the karma all of a sudden? Then mother says, yes, that is also right. You see how beautifully mother is answering every question, every doubt of the disciple. She says, it is right. But who has this faith? There is a precondition. It's not enough if you say, I feel God my own. You have to really feel it. You have to feel, just as we feel our father and mother are our own. The child doesn't have to be told that the mother is your own. If we have so much attachment for our biological father and mother, then what about our spiritual fathers, who is God himself? He has given birth. He has given birth to the Jivatman, to the spirit. And if we don't feel that God is our own, whose fault is it? If the child rejects his biological mother or father for some reason, is angry with it, then who is the loser? The loser is the child, because it's his fault that he doesn't think that his father is his own, his mother is his own. So the parents also say, if you don't want us, fine, you live to yourself, and then you can't expect anything from them. So here Rasbihari Maharaj is told very clearly that you don't worry. If you feel, who feels that God is your own? Have you ever tried? Have you ever practiced? Do you have that faith? If by the grace of the Guru and by the grace of Ishta, if you get that faith, that these people, the mantra, the sadhana, the spiritual reality is my own, and I can make them my own by these spiritual practices, even if I don't feel that they are my own, by constant practice, if I feel they are my own, then the problem is solved. Then there is no question of karma. My mother clearly says that. She says, yes, what you say is true. God can remove the karma. Holy Mother herself says, what is the use of japa? So she says, wherever there was a sword wound destined for you, your karma perhaps had destined, according to the law of karma, you deserved a very big sword wound. because you had committed some things, you had done some karma which you deserved a sword wound. But since you believe, since you considered God to be your own and you surrendered to Him, it happened in the case of Mathuranath Vishwas also. He had done something wrong and then he comes to Sri Ramakrishna, whom he considered to be his own father. He said, Father, Father, please save me. I no human being can save me. Neither the judge nor anybody can save me. So you please save me. And Thakur had to save him because he felt he was his own. So once we feel somebody is our own, then we have a right. And then my Holy Mother says, then the law of karma can be not changed. He can forgive your karma. So he says, who has that faith that he means God is his own? All practice these or those disciplines because they think it is their duty to do so. But how many seek God? He says, now, then what about all the people who are doing japa and doing sadhana and making a big show, doing worship, doing puja, chanting this? Then they say, we have done this, we have done that. Ours is a very holy family. We regularly do this. We go to the temple. We perform all the rituals which are there in the scriptures. Why doesn't God give grace to these people? He says, we do all these disciplines because they think it is their duty. Just as they think it is their duty to earn money, they think it's our duty to do these pujas, our duty to do this japa. They don't do these spiritual practices, or they don't have an underlying attitude inside when they do this japa that God is my own. Just to make Him my own, I am doing this japa. I want to make Him my own. Right now I am not feeling that He is as close to us as we feel towards our biological fathers or mothers. But not everybody feels close to their biological father or mother. But if we feel in spirit that we are united to God in spirit, that is the essence of all sadhana, then she says the law of karma will not work. She says if the sword wound is destined, you will get only a pin prick. The law of karma will still work because you were destined, but because you felt He is your own, because you did japa, the effect of japa is nothing but to increase your faith that He is your own. If with that attitude, if you have done, then God says, okay, you deserved a sword wound, but you will get a pin prick. These are mother's words. They are absolutely true. So this is how she says, how karma, the effect of karma goes away. It's not by doing something the karma goes away. By doing it, it will gradually go. But more than that, if we feel God to be our own, things can be easy. And then there's no partiality about it. So Holy Mother seems to be saying, don't think God is kind to some people and they are partial to some people and they're not partial to somebody else. The very reason is they don't feel God is their own. So she says, but how many seek Him? How many perform sadhana just to seek Him, just to please Him? There's a beautiful shloka which says, Tasmin tushta jagat tushta. Means if you make God happy, then the whole world becomes happy. It's a very great psychological truth. But we try to make people happy all the time. If we just concentrate, focus on the Supreme Consciousness, who is eternally our own, then you will find that then you will find that He becomes tushta. Tushta means He becomes happy. He becomes gracious to you. So if we satisfy the spirit, if we consider God to be our own, then God considers us to be His own. So it's a process where it's a give and take process. The closer you go to God, the closer you feel that God is to you, the closer you actually go towards God. So then Mother says, once I said to you that the child does not recognize even its own mother, if it is deprived of her care and love. So now the disciple is very clever. He says, see, don't blame me if I don't consider God to be my own. Sometimes it so happens that even in biological relationship, some children don't have that kind of feel that kind of ownership with their children or with their parents. You don't see the same kind of attachment for the children in all the parents. Some people are attached, some. So he says, even one child does not recognize. Suppose the child has grown away from the mother, it may not recognize its own mother. So such a thing is happening with me. Though you say Sri Ramakrishna is my own and you are my own, but I don't feel it because perhaps I have not been, I cannot recognize that. If I recognize you are of my own, then I will definitely own you. I will try to have faith in that you are my own. But unfortunately, for some reason, even a child, even in a gross way, the child does not sometimes recognize the mother. So please tell me if such a thing is happening with me. So mother says, yes, she agrees to that. She says, yes, you have spoken truly. How can one love another unless one sees him? You see, you have seen me. I am your mother and you are my child. Now, mother is giving such assurance to his disciple. She says, at least now you believe me. Okay, I agree with you that if you don't see somebody, and then how can you own him? How can you love him? But now you have seen me. Now at least don't have this faith. You see, that's why Swami Shivananji said, these people, we were so lucky that we were with God himself. We were with incarnation himself. But out of many of us, many people did not recognize Sri Ramakrishna. Just to be born when he was there would not ensure that they could make him his own. They thought he was just an ordinary priest of the Dakshineshwar temple. Many of them just came out of curiosity, did not even bother. It's not true that only if they have been born when Sri Ramakrishna came that they were lucky. So he says, Mahapurush Maharaj says, you people are greater. You have not even seen Sri Ramakrishna. You just read his books, read his divine play, read his works, and saw his photo. At least we were lucky that we could see the likeness of Thakur, which Holy Mother says is a shadow of Thakur. That's why she said last time when somebody asked, does Sri Ramakrishna actually accept what we offer him in the photograph? So she says, don't think it is just a photograph. It's the shadow of the original. So the shadow implies that the real person was there. Otherwise, how could there be a photo? You can't have a shadow if there is no object. If there is an object, there will be a shadow. So he says, what prevents you? He was there, he came, he lived, he saved so many people. So can you not have faith? So not having seen the original form, but having seen the shadow, catching hold of the shadow, we try to go to the original. That is what Holy Mother says. But how many people, she says, believe that? Unless you see him, you cannot believe him. But now you have seen me. Rasbihari Maharaj has seen Holy Mother physically. So that is why even in spite of seeing, there is no guarantee that one will recognize an incarnation or have a feeling that he is our own. And that prevents us from getting the grace. So that's the conclusion here. So then I'll quickly end. We have just exceeded the time, but there is a small paragraph and we'll end today. It was about 9:30 in the evening. I went to the Holy Mother. I had not seen her for the whole day. And Mother is asking the disciple, where were you for the whole day? The disciple says, I have been busy with accounts downstairs. Perhaps he was helping Swami Saradananda to work with the accounts. Yes, Prakash told me so. So some Prakash would have told Holy Mother that Ras Bihari is busy with his account, that's why he could not come to you. Can anyone who has renounced the world relish these things? Now she is just giving him the warning we remember the story of Jesus, where Mary and Martha, two sisters, when Jesus came to their house, Mary recognized the greatness of Jesus, knew that the real Jesus is not the physical Jesus, it's the spirit which has come to my house as Jesus, which is going to save me, is the Savior. And she did not want to waste a single minute. Whereas Martha was so gross that she thought, I should feed Jesus. I should feed him. She wanted to make him happy because gross was the only thing she understood. She understood only food. She understood the delicious things. She thought, like any other human being, Jesus also would like if I feed him nicely. So she goes to the kitchen and starts preparing something, and there's too much work. So she is angry that her sister Martha, instead of helping her, she has gone and sitting at the feet of Jesus. So she comes and tells Martha, should I do all these things alone? I have been preparing food for Jesus, and you are sitting here and not helping me. Come, we'll finish it. And then Jesus stops her. Jesus stops her, says, see, she has realized the importance of the spirit over matter. She doesn't give any importance to the gross things. And that is why she knows that as long as I am there, I may not be there here eternally. As long as I am there, she wants to get spiritual sustenance from me. Whereas you are so busy with the gross thing that you are going to lose all these things. So instead of admonishing Mary, he admonishes Martha and gives her a hint that you have to fix your priorities. So here Holy Mother also is giving a warning to Ras Bihari. Yes, what you say, you were busy, but you know for certain that you are missing out something. Then he says, once there was a mistake, then she gives the example of Thakur. How Thakur was detached towards these gross things. How natural was it for him to not to be unnecessarily bothered about the gross things. Because he had so much faith in the eternal nature of God and the God's grace, Mother's grace, that he did not think he should be wasting his time on petty things. So one day there was a mistake in the accounts relating to the salary of the master. You all know he was given a salary of about 7 rupees because he was working as a priest. He was still a sadhaka and he used to take that money and give it to mother for the daily expenses. He never had any attachment for that. He just worked, he got a salary, and whatever the facilities were provided, simple food, he was happy. But he was not very particular with that he should get, like most of us were very keen to see that every pie that we get, what is due, that we get those things. But Thakur never bothered. He said, I asked him, mother asked him, see, we have not got the salary, there is some problem. Or maybe the salary has come, but the full amount has not come. There is some problem. So I asked him to talk to the manager of the temple about it, but he said, Sri Ramakrishna told Holy Mother, oh, what a shame. Shall I bother myself about these small accounts? Once he said to me, then he said, if you want, you do. I mean, he didn't say that, but he implied that I am not going to do that. If mother wants, she will send me the right amount. And of course, mother always provided for him. Then he says, then he told Holy Mother, he said, he who utters the name of God never suffers from any misery. No need to speak about you. So he's saying, anyone who utters the name of God is telling it in a general way. Not to speak of you, because you have always been taking the name of the Lord. So why should you bother? Things will be all right. Just have faith. So she says, no need to speak about you. No one who utters the name of God ever suffers from any misery. These are his very words. And remember, renunciation was his ornament. Means he was so fed up of these gross things that he didn't think that it was significant to go and bother himself. So, of course, the standard is very high. Sri Ramakrishna said, if I have done 16 parts, you do at least one part. We're not saying that we can have the same attitude, but the standard which Sri Ramakrishna had set. The mother is reminding Rasbihari Maharaj, yes, you are so busy with the account that you don't even have time. You're so busy with cooking and you're busy with eating and so many things. You don't think that it is worth getting the spiritual food from me, and you are missing that. So indirectly it is a warning to all of us that when there is this opportunity, one has of being served spiritual food by anybody. If we neglect that and go after the gross food, later on we may have to regret. That's why Holy Mother says, you see, even Thakur said, what a bother. I am not going to the manager to haggle with him for a few paisa. I am not going to do that. So that Holy Mother understood. And then he says, how can one misery come to a person who has faith in God, faith in the mantra, one who has uttered the name of God. Uttering the name of God means japa, one who has done japa, one who has faith in God. How can he ever suffer misery? So we end on that note. If there are some questions, you can ask. I have exceeded the time. Yeah, if there are some questions, you can ask. You have to unmute yourself and ask. Or you can even send your questions on chat if you don't want to ask. The chat is open, so if you send a question, I'll read out the question and answer. If you are unable to unmute yourself and ask the question. Oh, there is a question. I think people are finding it difficult. They are not able to. Okay, now I have unmuted all. But there is a question which Ravi Lingam is asking. I have a question on chat where he says, how can one make God one's own? Now the answer has been given by Ma herself. I will be very brief. We have discussed this several times. If you just go through my previous talks, this question comes in the Gospel of Holy Mother many times. This was her special advice to Rasbihari Maharaj and to all the disciples through him. That once you make God your own, then all your misery will cease. Now, what do you mean by making God one's own? It's a very simple thing. It's a see, we are what we are because of our habits. Habit is such a thing that if you say I am a smoker, why do you say I am a smoker? I have made smoking my own. I have made the cigarette my own, so I smoke. Every time I see a cigarette, I feel like smoking. So unless I make the cigarette my own, I don't smoke. So also with sweets, with so many things, we feel tempted. Certain circuits are created in the brain, and you feel you you have to own it. So that is how attachment is formed. The only way attachments are formed in life, when you say I like cigarettes, I like sweets, I like this, I like that, I like money, it is only because of habits. So somebody has asked the question, how can I make God my own? So if you start liking God and make it a habit to repeat his name, to have faith in him, again and again do that for a period of time, then you can make him your own. You start liking God. And if you start liking God, you can make him your own. That's the only way. The only way we have to The only way we have to approach God is to repeat the name and try to, with every repetition, think that He is your own. Not just repeating for the sake of repeating. So when you do something, some action repeatedly, eating sweets repeatedly, smoking cigarettes repeatedly, or uh, doing certain things very repeatedly, then you slowly, over a period of time, you start liking it. Of course, there are exceptions when sometimes you get disgusted. That is the nature of the gross possessions. The difference between spiritual things, the more subtle thing, the more easy it is to, the more eternal is the attachment. The more gross it is, the more temporary it is. So that's why if you continue to eat too much, the nature of Prakriti is such that you will get a disgust towards that. Fortunately, Holy Mother or Prakriti has been created in such a way that if you like certain gross things too much, you go on enjoying it too much, then you develop a distaste for that. So that's why they say the grosser you go, the more you go towards the world and try to love it, the more blows you get and the more disgusted you get, then you come to spirituality. Because those things, you don't get disgusted if there is excess. You don't get disgusted if you have excess of bliss. Because they are eternal, they are of eternal nature. Whereas if something which is temporary, if you start loving, for example, you like a cigarette, it will last for 3 minutes. After that, you feel miserable. Then you smoke again. Then you find that this is disgusting me. Every time I feel miserable, I go and smoke a cigarette. And that cigarette, if I don't get, I feel miserable. So you get disgusted after a certain, because that is the very nature of the gross universe. It is because its very nature that it is temporary. It can never give you eternal happiness. No temporary thing can give you eternal happiness. So the higher you go, the more you can make God your own. It has to be made only through habit. So I think the answer is very clear. To make God your own, you have to remember Him, think that He is your own again and again. You may forget, but again you have to remember. It is just like forming habits in the gross world. The only difference is in the gross world, the habit will make you more. If you do more and more, you will get suffocated. But when the more subtle you go, the more you repeat, the more attached you get to those things, and you can make God your own. That is not lost. Whereas all this effort will be lost. Now the second question is there likely ever to be a moment where Atma or God shall not exist? Now this is not possible because the eternal nature, it's a very simple answer. The soul, the Jivatma may not exist, but the Paramatma or the Supreme Soul, which is pure consciousness, will ever exist. The Jivatma will not exist because the gross will go away. The gross will disintegrate. The Annamaya Kosha will disintegrate. All the smaller koshas, over a period of time, they will disintegrate. So the Jivatma will not be permanent. The Jivatma has an end, but the Atma or the Paramatma or the Supreme Soul, because it is of the nature, it is indivisible, it is indestructible. All the qualities of eternality are associated with that. Eternal joy, eternal existence, eternal. So how can it not exist? So that is the answer to the second question. The third question is, somebody is asking, how will I understand that God has acknowledged that I have made him my own parent? Now, acknowledgement is very clear. There is no need for acknowledgement. It is a feeling. You don't want your mother to tell you that I am your own, I am your own. No child ever asks the mother every day that are you my own? Are you my own mother? Just as Ras Bihari Maharaj was asking mother, are you my own? He knew that she was a guru, she had a human form, but he somehow had the feeling he could not get rid of his gross attachment. He thought the gross mother who gave birth to me is my own. That he could feel very easily because he was gross. But as the mind becomes finer and finer, as he comes closer and closer to Holy Mother, he started feeling that she is, and she told this to him as she found him progressing more and more. That is the beauty of spiritual life. The Guru or the Ishta, the Guru in this case, her Holy Mother was his Guru. So the Guru herself is telling him that I am your own mother. Not once, so many times she has, but still he has doubts. And he says, even the gross child sometimes disowns the gross mother. Yeah, that is true, but in the spiritual field, one does not have to, God does not have to, though he acknowledges, in this case he has acknowledged, mother has acknowledged that I am your mother, but still he did not have faith. So it took some time. But no acknowledgement is necessary because it is a feeling. As the feeling deepens, you know God cannot be anybody other than my own. If you feel that, if you identify with that, then there is no acknowledgement necessary. It is as clear as a child feeling that the mother is his own. The mother doesn't have to tell, she doesn't have to acknowledge. Then mother tells Swamiji, this is another question. Mother tells Swamiji to eliminate animal sacrifice in the first Durga Puja at Belur Math, because in Puja fearlessness is offered to all sentient beings. Please explain more mother's reason. Now you see, this is a very sociological question. This has to be looked from two viewpoints. From the gross point of view, Holy Mother did not want that people get a wrong message. Though all the sacrifices, all the Ashwamedha sacrifice, you see, a lot of animals were offered and all those things in the past, the rishis. The question is not whether, the question is, these gross offerings, unless you understand the significance behind it, even the gross offering, why just animals? You take vegetables, for example, flowers. You see a beautiful flower on the tree. It is growing, it is not yet dead. And mercilessly, we pluck that flower, that living flower. Don't you think it has life? We pluck that flower and decorate our shrine with thousands and thousands of flowers. We pay money for somebody else to pluck the flowers. Is it not himsa? Is it not it's just the animal has more sensitivity, that's all. But the plants do have sensitivity. Every plant, sometimes, you see, Thakur used to feel bad. He said the universal worship is going on. He used to go to the garden and he sometimes went to such a mood, high mood, that he felt that mother is worshipping, being worshipped by these trees and the plants and the breeze. So, the whole creation is worshipping, and why should I pluck this flower? Why should I disturb, break the plant, break the flower and take it and or offer? So, whatever you do, it depends on the level of consciousness you have. If you are very gross, then it is bad. If you are subtle, then you will not bother about these things. You will even stop offering flowers. You will stop offering garlands. You will not feed. The higher you go, but since this involved a gross social custom, and Holy Mother felt that already people are cruel. People are already so gross that if they don't understand the significance of worship, then whether they offer animals or whether they offer flowers, large amount of flowers are actually wasted, trampled upon. After puja, they are simply thrown away. We are not sensitive to those things. We can offer the mental flowers. In fact, the offering, if the problem is ritualism has taken such a strong hold on us, and we have become so gross, we don't understand anything which is not gross. We want gross happiness, we want gross flowers, we want gross food. Everything is so gross about us. So we have so deeply identify ourselves, our consciousness with the Annamaya Kosha and the Pranamaya Kosha, that we cannot think that there is a higher existence. Worship was designed to create us, to take us from the lower to higher levels of existence, consciousness. If that is purpose is not served, then you will go on increasing. It may not be animal sacrifice. Mother had to stop it because she knew today they will offer one goat, tomorrow they will feel like offering another goat because they want to eat it, not because they want to elevate themselves spiritually. We never offer tasty food to God with any spiritual purpose. That is so unfortunate that Chappan Bhog and all those things which are happening all over the world. I don't mean to criticize them because very often the purpose is that we will enjoy that food after that. And that food which satisfies our taste buds, that only we will offer. Because we are more interested in the prasad. We are not interested in the spiritual benefit that worship does to us. So, from a sociological level, Holy Mother was correct. She told Swamiji, you may be in a very high plane. You may get benefit by this animal sacrifice. But these people, and with the same reason, Swamiji also stopped Shashi Maharaj from increasing the puja rituals. Because he knew that people will become more and more gross by doing puja rather than more and more subtle. Every year you will find you will have to offer more flowers, make more decorations, spend more money. And then what happens is we forget the real purpose. So the purpose behind the sacrifices, the purpose behind offering flowers was to a spirit of renunciation. But if it doesn't come, Holy Mother had to intervene and said no. She knew what is going to happen after 2-3 generations. How many animals will be killed and people will go on in the name of religion satisfying their appetites. So that is why she said that Durga Puja, it's not just a question of fearlessness. Fearlessness has to be given to all sentient beings, not only the animals. You have to give fearlessness to even human beings, that I will not hurt you, I will not torture you, I will not be jealous of you, I will not give you pain. That is also, you have to give fearlessness to human beings also. You have to be kind to them. You have to be kind to not only to animals but also to human beings. There are people who are very kind to animals, but they are so bad, they don't even bother if somebody is starving. They said, I don't care. So they are not obeying their vow of fearlessness, which you have asked, towards human beings, towards small creatures. There are so many things which we can do to give fearlessness. Even spoken word. Can we assure that don't worry, because of me, at least I will not scold you, or I will not harm you, or I will not cause anything that will suffocate you, that will give you trouble. We trouble so many people physically, mentally, even by our speech. By our speech, we can cause so many problems to so many people by speaking rudely. So that is also a kind of himsa. So that fearlessness, it should be taken in a general way, in a general context, and the attitude is more important than the actual ritual. But Mother stopped it only for the reason that she, not because she disagreed with Swamiji, she knew that in future, she had more foresight than Swami Vivekananda. She knew that in future, these things will lead to more and more materialism, more and more grossness will come in the puja, and people will not do sattvic puja. They will not enhance or their spiritual life by these rituals. So that's the reason. Now Sandeep, there is another question. Those who don't have Diksha, don't have mantra to do japa, what mantra to do japa on and what rules? See, this japa, you just can't do japa. It is just like somebody deciding to get a degree by not going to the university. He can get knowledge. He can get knowledge by referring to books, going to the library and decide to self-educate himself. Nobody prevents. But people think it is still safer to go to the university or to go to authorized people for education. So also there is no exception in spiritual life also. There are certain techniques, certain mystic syllables which have come down from a tradition, just as some authentic knowledge comes down. When you go to universities like Oxford and all the great universities, you know that they will give you authentic stuff. You don't go to a university, random university on the street without any proper uh, uh, ability to transmit knowledge. You just don't go to any, just go to the internet and download something and think that you have got the perfect knowledge. You don't do it because you don't test or you don't have faith in the authenticity. So naturally you would like to go. So getting a mantra from a guru in a very systematic way, there are so many things, preconditions. You just asked what are the rules. The rules are that you have to find out whether the japa or the mantra that you are doing has come down in a very authentic tradition. There is some connection to some authentic people. There's some authentic tradition which has come down and the mantra has been handed in that particular tradition. And how far you are from that tradition, whether the tradition is pure or not, whether the tradition is effective or not. So all these things are factors. So that is why in the Ramakrishna mission, we have a tradition that anybody and everybody cannot give this mantra japa. Otherwise, you can get it from the books also. There are so many mantras now. If you go to YouTube, there are thousands of people chanting so many mantras. So one can easily get it. But the authenticity or the force behind that mantra or the authenticity of that mantra cannot be ascertained when you take it from a stray source. So you have to, these mantras have efficacy only if it is received in a lineage. There should be a guru parampara, as they call. Parampara means a succession of gurus who they just don't give it to anybody and everybody. It has to come in a proper succession. Just as when you go to the university, you go to qualified people who have graduated in the proper way. You just can't say that I don't have a degree but I have the knowledge, I'll come and teach physics, chemistry or mathematics. Even in secular knowledge we don't do that. We ask, are you qualified? Do you have a degree? Have you passed certain exams? So these are the things. The similar rules are there. It's a very big topic. I'll discuss it some other day, and if you want you can personally discuss. So these are the rules regarding japa. Now I'll just end. How can we keep our balance in the world when the pull of divine is strong? Thank you. Okay. Yes. So somebody has asked a question that how to keep a balance when the pull of the divine is strong. Now that depends on how much strong the pull is. If the divine pull is stronger, then you will naturally give less attention to the world around you. And that proportion has to be decided individually. How much of the pull I feel, that pull may not be the same. Balance is necessary because one cannot simply, because the pull is very hard, give up things which one has committed oneself. Like Arjuna, he had committed to fight the war. And suddenly he says, I have a strong pull. He wants to leave everything, leave the war and follow Sri Krishna and follow his spiritual precepts. Because 18 chapters, Sri Krishna told him so many things. So he thought, oh, it's a wonderful path. This is true. The pull of the divine was so strong. Perhaps it was not strong enough. Otherwise, Sri Krishna would not have told him. He said, no. You follow the path of yoga. Balance is yoga. Samatvam yoga uchyate. This proper harmony or balance is yoga. The very definition of yoga is there should be a balance in life. Don't be in a hurry. You go gradually, slowly. So the idea of balance has to be answered, or the solution to this problem is how much we feel, how much comfortably we can disassociate with the world, and how much we can own the divine life or be one with the divine spirit. How much of time, space, or activity, that one has to decide. And it's often seen that it should be a slow and gradual process. One cannot force divinity on oneself. No doubt there are exceptions, as Sri Ramakrishna showed. He had a very little time. So he went to the mother and said, "No, you have to reveal yourself." He did not have patience to wait. I'm not talking of such people. They are all great prophets. They have intense yearning. But we have to find how much yearning we have and how much unnecessary things we can let go. To create a harmony, you don't have to let go of essential things, as Arjuna wanted to do. He wanted to simply give up the battle. He said, no, you have to finish what you have started. You fight your battle, but just see, how do you use your leisure time? Are you increasing your responsibility? If you have a certain responsibility and now you have felt, or now somebody feels, that one should give more time or more space in one's life for divine pursuits, the more the yearning, the lesser you will be. Thakur used to give a wonderful example. He says, when a daughter-in-law of the house becomes pregnant, the mother of the house gradually decreases the work she is given. In the beginning, in the first month, perhaps she'll say, now you reduce. Now you're having a baby in your womb, so you should not be working very hard. So Thakur says, Sri Ramakrishna says, slowly as the months approach, Sri Ramakrishna says that the mother-in-law will give less and less work to the daughter-in-law of the house. Said, now you are very near your childbirth, so you should be very careful. You should not be doing more work. So similarly, that balance has to be maintained. The more yearning, so is to say, if you have more yearning, then the lesser work you do, and you have to gradually reduce it. The mother-in-law doesn't tell the daughter-in-law that you stop all work and for the next 9 months you don't have to work at all. No, she gradually reduces because she knows that there should be harmony. So also in our lives, we know our limitations, we know our responsibilities, what we think is a responsibility. The only thing we can do is not add extra responsibility to the one we already have. That is the issue. That is the issue. That's why Sri Ramakrishna said, after the birth of one or two children, you just live as brothers. What does it mean? He said, just don't go on increasing. Just because you are worldly, don't aspire to have more and more things and more responsibilities. Because the more children you have, the more responsibilities you have. So, Sri Ramakrishna gave a very simple example, how to balance and harmonize one's life. So, even in that worldly pursuit, you know what are the essentials. Beyond this, one has to take a resolution that I will not increase my responsibilities unless they are forced upon me. Suppose somebody is sick, then you have to look after them. Here there was a war. Arjuna had to fight this war. He could not escape. But after that war, Sri Krishna did not tell him, you go on fighting wars and adding your properties, conquering different races, and then just go on increasing your empire. Sri Krishna would not have advised him that. When the question of survival came, he said, you have to fight this battle because this battle has been forced upon you. You did not desire this. This battle has been forced upon you. So it is your duty. It's your duty to do. So we have to have it's a delicate issue. One has to decide how many things we can afford to let go, minimize the things which occupy us or create anxieties, create more worries for us. That one has to decide oneself. Okay, that is how the pull of divine, and we know how much the pull of divine is. If it is genuine, then we will somehow find out. You see, there are people who like to watch games, who like some football games. And you will see even the small kids, they'll quickly finish their homework because they know if we want to watch the match, we have to finish our work quickly, or we have to sacrifice certain things to watch what we like. So, if the pull of the divine is so enchanting, if it is so engrossing, or maybe it demands all our attention, then we'll pay less attention to the things which are not important. But one should not, for that reason, give up all the essential things also. And it's a very gradual process. So I think I have answered most of the questions. It's already very late. So I'll take leave of you. We'll meet tomorrow at 4:30 for our Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.
Thank you, Maharaj. Pranams.
Namaste.
Thank you, Swami.
Thank you.
Pranam.